What I So it looks like Lauri Markkanen isn't going anywhere, at least for the next season. But news broke from Woj that Lauri Markkanen and the Jazz have worked out a contract renegotiation, which involves this current year for the upcoming season, 2024-2025, being adjusted. Lauri Markkanen was scheduled to make 18 million, but he will now be making 24 million this year. And in addition to that, they've also extended him for an additional 4 years. So the total contract value is $238 million. Now, the most interesting piece about this is that obviously everyone that's been following basketball this offseason knows that Lauri Markkanen has been the subject of trade rumors pretty much every single day. Like, it's been absurd. And once he signs this deal, which I believe is either happening today or tomorrow, he cannot be traded for 6 months. So the trade deadline for this upcoming season is going to be on February 6th. So if he signs, today's August 7th. So if he signs today or tomorrow, that means that he cannot be traded until February the 8th, which is not possible because the trade deadline will have already passed. So Lauri Markkanen effectively cannot be traded until the next offseason, so the 2025 offseason. So what this does is this really fucks up the Warriors' plans. But honestly, I don't know how much it's really messing up their plans because they were so stubborn to trade Brandon Pajemski, and I understand it. I mean, you just drafted Brandon Pajemski, and he made an all-rookie team. He played pretty well, but you have Steph Curry, you have Moses Moody, who's can play the 2, can play the 3. You have Jonathan Kuminga, can play the 2, 3, or 4 probably, but Jonathan Kuminga's not the best shooter on the team, so I mean probably the 3 or 4 is more likely for Kuminga. And Pajemski's a good facilitator. He can play point guard if Steph's injured or if he's off the court. So there's a lot of versatility there. But I think the thing that's important to note is that this group of young guys is not going to win right now. So Steph Curry and Draymond and Andrew Wiggins, if Andrew Wiggins even sticks around for that long, which I personally think he's probably going to get traded, I don't think you win. I don't think you win with that roster, right? I think Lauri Markkanen helps your chances a lot, and I think the Warriors in general are pretty good at drafting players. It doesn't matter where they pick in the draft; they've always been pretty good at drafting players. I mean, even going back to Monte Ellis. Monte Ellis was a second-round pick, came out of high school, and Monte Ellis was really good. It was really good for the Warriors. Steph Curry probably should have gone number 1 in that draft, right? And didn't really know that he was going to be that good until the Warriors put him in that position. So, and Monte Ellis and Steph Curry did not get drafted in the same year. I'm talking about the 2009 draft for Steph Curry. I think Monte Ellis got drafted 2005, 2004, something like that. Maybe it was 2006. But if you have faith in your ability to draft, which the only one that I can really remember that was a true just bad pick was James Wiseman, but they were kind of tanking, that year. So I feel like, he kind of walked into that one. So, and I personally think if they had given James Wiseman a bit of a different opportunity and, played him a little bit differently, it wouldn't have turned out the way it did. But, that's what happens when you draft a guy that, played 3 games in college. You don't really know if he's going to be good or not. So, but I honestly, I've been thinking about this too. I'm like, are the Jazz in a better position now than the Warriors? And I honestly think so. I think the Jazz have a better chance to make the play-in or the playoffs this year than the Warriors do. I don't think the Warriors are going to be top 10 team in the West. I really don't. Just how they're currently structured, it's not, I just don't think you can win that way. As good as Steph Curry is, and he'll be one of the best players in the league until the day he retires, he can't do it on his own. Like, he's not going to be able to make every single shot, especially if there's not enough other players with offensive versatility on the court with him, because no one's going to take the attention off of Steph Curry. So if he's shooting threes from 30 feet with, 4 guys on him, he's not going to be able to do that, right? As great as he is, he's not going to be able to do that. You're not going to win that way. So I don't know. I mean, I think obviously Steph Curry is not going anywhere. I think he's going to be a Warrior for life. I don't think he's ever going to play for a different team. And if he does, it'll be, on his own terms. I think it'll be an amicable parting if they decide to do that. But I can't see him doing that. Is he going to go to Charlotte because that's where he's from? I don't think so. I really don't think he's not going to be in a better position to win in Charlotte, right? He'd be with LaMelo Ball, but I don't think that's going to work either, right? So I think he has his legacy already kind of mapped out. I think he wants to be one of those guys that plays for one team his entire career, and he's won 4 championships. If you retired today, you're still going to say, okay, well, Steph Curry's one of the greatest of all time, and that's not going to change if he plays 5 more years and doesn't win a championship. He's still going to be one of the greatest players of all time. But it's just from an organizational standpoint, I don't really know what they're trying to do. So if you're trying to build for the future, that's one thing. If you're trying to win now, you should have given up Brandon Pajemski for Lauri Markkanen. But I don't really know what they're doing. But back to Andrew Wiggins. I think Andrew Wiggins is probably going to get traded. I think he's experienced a significant drop-off from when he got to the Warriors originally to now. And I think part of that is just some of the stuff that he was dealing with off the court. He was away from the team for a long time for personal reasons, either this past season or the season before. I can't remember. And I just think, that core group of guys with Steph, Draymond, and Andrew Wiggins, they're all just getting older. I mean, Wiggins is 29. He's not even that old, but his play style is very, very much so dependent on athleticism. And as those types of players age and get older in the league, they typically drop off a lot quicker than someone like Steph Curry, who's very much so skill-based. And not saying that Andrew Wiggins isn't skilled, but Steph Curry is probably the most skilled basketball player of all time. The guy has an incredible shooting method. He has an incredible way that he dribbles and handles the ball. He's a great passer. He has so much skill, and that's why he's such a great player, despite not being, the best athlete in the league or the biggest guy in the league. And that's what sets him apart. But I think if they just play their young guys, play Kuminga more, play Moses Moody more, play Pajemski, play Trace Jackson Davis, and maybe you trade Draymond Green, maybe you trade Andrew Wiggins, I think that would help. And even if you trade him to a contending team, right, and you get a mid to late first round pick or a couple for each of them, I think that's a good result. And then you keep Steph Curry around to kind of bring up the younger guys and teach them the right way to do things, teach them the Golden State Warriors way of doing things. I think that's the best path that they can follow right now. Because, you swung and you missed on Lauri Markkanen. I don't think they're going to trade for Zach LaVine. I don't think that makes any sense. And they didn't get DeMar DeRozan. So this offseason's just been a big miss for them. I mean, they drafted, I think, one guy in the second round, Quentin Post. He's a 7-footer. So, they've picked pretty well, in the, late first round, second round these past couple of years. So maybe he's going to pan out. Maybe they didn't need Lauri Markkanen after all. But, and the Warriors fans are great. I mean, they bring energy. They're going to have excitement at home games. They're always going to play better at home than they do on the road. But I don't know what's next, right? Is this the end of their dynasty? To me, I think so. I think this is probably the end of their dynasty. Can Steph Curry maybe get one more championship. You know, if he plays another 5 years, maybe. But those are going to be some slim odds. But he can do it. If anyone in the league has the ability to win a championship at any year that they're in the league, it's Steph Curry and LeBron James. I don't think anyone else has that ability. As soon as you put them on a team, they instantly give you a chance to contend. So I'm rooting for Steph. I hope I hope the Warriors are doing the right thing for him and he's doing what he wants to do. But I don't know what the hell they got going on with this Lauri Markkanen situation. They definitely swung and missed on that one. So, but the Jazz are looking good. So if you're a Jazz fan, big ups.